Welcome in, everybody, to 4th and 11. I am Jacob Steiner here on Tuesday, April 2nd. And surprisingly, today we do not have any noticeable birthdays. We do have birthdays, but none that, I would say, and y'all be like, oh, who the hell is that? No birthdays. So no notable ones. So I'm going to just go ahead and skip that and move into the stat of the night. This from Monday night versus the Boston Celtics is Dwayne Wade's final game in TD Garden. Put up 17 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds for 8 for 17 shooting in just 29 minutes. That is his final game in TD Garden. It's unbelievable to see. And his highlights are going to be watched throughout the years. You're going to just pop up one day with your children later in life. Dad, who's that? Oh, that's Dwayne Wade, the greatest shooting guard. Well, actually, take that back. Not the greatest shooting guard, because you still have Michael Jordan in there, and also Kobe Bryant, but definitely top 5 greatest shooting guards. I wish that he didn't go too soon. It looks like he still has a bit of stuff in the tank still. 17 points, that's pretty good. You play 29 minutes, that's a lot of minutes. A lot of, starters play 29 minutes in a game. Still kicking, but that's final game in TD Garden, and we're going to miss you, buddy. We're going to miss you. It's a very slow Tuesday, and I wanted to get into this on Monday's show, but I also forgot to bring it in there. Xander Bogaerts' 7-year, $132 million deal with the Red Sox. Not really that big of news. We knew he was going to stay. At least I knew he was going to stay. But Bogaerts is a good player. He put up some pretty good averages. But when I kind of looked at it for a second and then I saw the Red Sox, when you look at your phone, you kind of skim through real quick just to be like, oh, is it an update that I really care about? It's kind of what you do with, when text messages come. Is it mom? Is it dad? It's mom and dad. Just put it to the side. It's my ex, put it to the side. My main girl, yeah, pick it up. Pick it up. It doesn't matter what's going on. But, I skimmed through it. Xander Bogaerts, I didn't see that name. I saw the Red Sox. I was like, is that Mookie Betts? I was going to be ecstatic because, that's a huge deal. But, at least Xander Bogaerts is getting his money. They should really give that money to Chris Sale or someone, in that pitching staff that they're very, very short on, and why I don't think, the Red Sox will repeat as World Series titles this year, but they still have a pretty good shot. They're playing the Oakland A's tonight in that one. And, Xander Bogaerts, props up to you, I didn't say anything relatively bad about you, so I'm here if you want to give some money away. Because that's a heck load of money. $132 million. More than 95% of the world probably will never get that much money in their lifetime. 95% of the world. It's a lot to go down for that. And another contract going down this time in the NCAA. Kentucky agrees to a lifetime contract with John Calipari, a deal consisting of a coaching extension and an ambassador role. Does that mean he's like the president, or do they roll out the red carpet for him every year? John Calipari is a good coach, but there's better coaches out there that can really bring more championships at a program like Kentucky. Kentucky's very well known, and obviously John Calipari, sometimes not the smartest coach, but he is one, and he is a god at recruiting. That man can walk into a building and he can sell you on any point. He sold Derrick Rose on Memphis. He sold Marcus Camby at UMass. He sold a lot of people to come to Kentucky. He got that, 15 or 10 McDonald All-American players that all went drafted. They're all in the NBA. They're all basically playing, one of the Harrison twins. I mean, you get the point. I mean, he had a loaded stack team. They didn't win the championship, sadly. But John Calipari is a good coach. And he's, I wouldn't put him up as the greatest head coach of all time, or maybe in the century. I got probably Roy Williams as another huge name in there, Mike Krzyzewski as well. I mean, the list goes on if you're talking about great coaches. But John Calipari, congrats to you. Kentucky, I'm sorry. Y'all didn't make the Final Four. Y'all lost to a sorry. No, it was Michigan State. It was someone. It was Texas Tech. They shouldn't have never been in the tournament, or at least this far in the tournament. Texas Tech is a good team, but they struggle a lot. They really struggle passing the ball a lot. They don't, play, very well. They're shooting. I mean, Culver shoots up threes left and right. And that's why Texas Tech's not going to win a championship. But we're not talking about Tech. We're talking about Kentucky. Obviously, they've got a few big-name recruits coming in there next year. I don't think really anyone big's going to stay at Kentucky this year from this year on. And, it's going to be a new roster. I mean, it's completely a new revamped roster, and we'll see what happens in Kentucky next year. Obviously, John Calipari has done this before. If y'all remember the 30 for 30, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, the one and done has been a big, huge thing. A lot of players have done it, mostly because, hey, the money isn't right in college. They don't want to waste a year, maybe get injured, kind of like almost Zion Williamson did, and they just want to move on to the NBA and just get paid. But I mean, Kentucky, they've really embodied that one and done rule. You had a lot of them: John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, a few big names like Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis. I mean, you had Terrence Jones was a pretty good player early on in the year, but now he's not. I think he was a one and done. I mean, Michael K. Gilchrist, he's a great defender. You got, names can go on, and future Hall of Famers and that one. And, a lot of egos. I mean, you had DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall. I mean, these two people are always in the news about ego and this, ego and that. And, what's going on between these two, players and teammates. And he made that team work. Obviously, didn't win the championship, but they came close, and that was still a pretty good team to watch. They could have completely fallen flat. Kentucky has also had bad teams, and they've had good teams. Obviously, they made the NIT a few years ago, but in terms of getting players in and getting players out in the top of the draft, they do the best. Do the best. Duke probably second, North Carolina probably third, but Kentucky is probably, they weren't the first blue bloods, but I would say they're probably one of the best blue bloods out there. They're consistently at the top. North Carolina and Duke are probably better than them in terms of the final last few years, but in terms of talent, Kentucky is up there for the top of the blue bloods. They are a tough team to stop, and that is just, it's time to face the facts. Kentucky will be here for a while, especially with John Calipari signing that lifetime extension. Could it bite them in the butt? It could. It was a real quick show, but we're going to take a while talking about the games to watch. First off, in the NBA, we got the Kings and Rockets. The Kings, well, they're eliminated right now, but the Rockets are fighting for a top spot. They're tied right now with Portland for the 4th and 3rd seed, so they're trying to make it in. And they win against the Kings, and the Portland Trailblazers lose, which they didn't do last night against the Timberwolves. So the Rockets have a chance to move into that third seed, and then if the Trailblazers win, they'll, obviously Trailblazers have the tiebreaker, so the Trailblazers will move into that third seed. But each game is important. If one team loses, they fall. So each team, if both teams win out, the Portland Trailblazers will be on top, and the Rockets will be the 4th seed taking on the Utah Jazz or the LA Clippers or just someone down there. But Rockets, Kings, a very key matchup. That one's in Sacramento, so keep an eye out on that one. A game on TNT, Lakers Thunder without LeBron, but is the second half of that TNT doubleheader. But the Thunder, well, they're trying to make a playoff push. They're right now tied for the 7th spot with the Spurs. We're also playing another eliminated team in the Hawks. They're at home for that one. The Thunder are at home as well, but obviously the Spurs have the tiebreaker, and the Thunder desperately need the Hawks to win. They need Trae Young to produce. But, it's going to be a fun game for that one. Lakers don't have LeBron, as I said, but they still have Kyle Kuzma. They still have Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram was shut down for the rest of the season. They still have Kyle Kuzma. That's still enough to point an upset. Any team, we've seen UMBC beat Virginia last year. Upsets can happen, and it could be possible. It's a game to watch. That will be on TNT, but another game to watch. Nuggets, Warriors. That is the battle for the first spot. Obviously, if the Nuggets lose this game, they've got a tough road up ahead. So the Nuggets probably, they lose this one, you could possibly see them fall to maybe the 3rd or 4th seed, because the Rockets and Trailblazers are 3.5 games back, or actually 2.5 games back on the Nuggets. So, they lose 1 or 2 of those games, you could see them fall. And, now you looking at a Nuggets team that was fighting maybe for a Western Conference appearance. Now they're down in the bottom part of the bracket, and they could be a first-round bye because they're playing the Utah Jazz team that could possibly just completely derail them and win the ball game, and they're into the next round. It's only a 7-game series. Those basketball playoff games can go quickly, and if you don't grab a hold of them, they're gone. And the Nuggets obviously trying to fight for also that first spot. They're only 1 game back of the Warriors. So if the Warriors do lose to the Nuggets obviously will be on grasp for that first place team. And I need to look up who has the tiebreaker. But if the Nuggets do, they're in first place. And the Warriors can also fall back pretty far. They're, not impenetrable with six or 7 games left in the season. But it's a key game to watch. That one's in Golden State, so Golden State does have a little bit of an advantage. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a game to watch. I got the Warriors. No matter how much I hate them, I got the Warriors in that one. That's going to be an easy one to pick. And now into the MLB. The games to watch in the MLB. Phillies going to Washington with a hated player, Bryce Harper. Well, we'll see if he gets a standing ovation or a boo ovation. Who knows? He did go to a division rival, and that does not look good for his name. Zach Eflin and Max Scherzer on the mound tonight. Max Scherzer had a pretty good first outing. Definitely lost that one to Jacob deGrom, but he was the pitcher of the week, including Jacob deGrom. But can he continue this into the next game and prove to the Phillies and Bryce Harper at least that, hey, you made the wrong choice. We are the Nationals. We're still good without you. You can sign that big, huge 7 or 13-year deal, but we don't care anymore. We moved on. They've got Juan Soto. They've still got pretty good names in that lineup. And, I mean, it's going to be a fun game. Phillies, Nationals, we'll see what happens. So, I think he gets booed. And I said this plenty of times before to a lot of people who think that Bryce Harper, when he was still in free agency, was going to go to the Phillies. I mean, I thought it could be possible, but I was like, oh, he would just get teared up each and every year. It's not going to be just, I mean, I think they could boo him 2 years, 3 years down the road and be like, yeah, it's been 3 years. We probably won a World Series without him. But it's still to be debated question because there's a lot of teams in the MLB that, get a guy who's a superstar, but then he leaves, and they still have a few pieces on the other side, and they eventually win. They eventually get up there and win. And maybe that's the Nationals. They still have Max Scherzer on the mound, Steven Strasburg as well. But the Nationals, they can send a message, and they can send a big message in the sound of boos to Bryce Harper. He's going to have to go out to that right field fence and stand in front of the crowd. Judging that Bryce is Bryce, he's probably going to, encourage it a little bit. He's probably going to, raise his arms up and just be like, hey, come on, give it to me. But it'll be fun to see. That's the Tuesday night game. Boston versus Oakland. Chris Sale on the mound. He was 0 for 1 after a terrible appearance. Only pitched 3 innings against the hot bats of Seattle. He pitched 3 innings, 6 hits, 7 runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. The strikeouts were pretty good. But that's 3 innings of work and 7 runs. Seattle eventually put up 12 runs in that game. But he has a 21 ERA, so something to look at it. He's got 2.67 whip as well. So Chris Sale trying to get back on the win column and, get back to the way he was. Oakland's not a great not a good team to do it against because Oakland's pretty good this year and they look to continue on winning. And if Boston loses 2 straight series and Chris Sale doesn't look as good, this is what I'm talking about. Boston could just end up not being in the playoffs. We've seen, Chicago had that, World Series hangover, and then they came back the next year. They had that World Series hangover, and then it took them till the All-Star break to really kind of get into groove. And right after that, they trailed into the playoffs. They didn't make it back to the World Series, but it could be the same thing with Boston. It's Boston. Everything can happen. Boston, even a terrorist attack. It's just Boston has a lot of history. Boston is one of the most hated sports towns with the New England Patriots, the Boston Celtics, the Boston Bruins, the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox and the Bruins and also the New England Patriots have all won a lot of championships in the last few years. And the Celtics obviously in 2008 as well, but they've only won one. They've been to the playoffs. So if you're talking about going sports broadcasting and you want to pick a city that you want to work in, Boston is, probably one of the more middle grounds. But if you think, I'll have a lot of good teams to talk about, Boston's one of them, but their fans are ruthless up there sometimes. And they do travel quite a bit, and they do get into a lot of people's spaces. But there's sometimes they're pretty good people up there. They do cheat, New England. But Chris Sale trying to get back on track. Another game to watch, Houston and Texas. And I'm not just picking this because I love Houston. It's just everything is bigger in Texas especially the rivalry between Houston and Texas. Rangers, Justin Verlander versus Shelby Miller. Justin Verlander trying to come back after a pretty good outing, and he has the only win for the Houston Astros. He pitched 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. A pretty good performance for Justin Verlander against Tampa Bay on opening night. But Shelby Miller will get his first start of the season. He's the number 5 guy in that rotation. And, I mean, this is a game that's going to be, big. It's going to be packed. It's going to be, both sides hate each other, and everything's going to be all right. It's going to be fun to see. And as we move into the NHL, almost over in the NHL, they have, some teams have 2, some teams have 3, maybe 4 games left. So just like the NBA, they're pretty almost over into the playoffs. We're going to have to talk about that as well. First game to watch, the Bruins and the Blue Jackets. That's going to be your nationally broadcast game. The Bruins versus the Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets trying to stay alive. They're 7th place in the East right now. So we'll see if they can, move into a better spot. But the Bruins have locked their playoff spot in there, and they look to just continue up. They're definitely not going to capture Lightning as well, because Lightning, they're the only team with 60 wins right now, and they're looking pretty good. But the Blue Jackets definitely need this win more than the Bruins. But we'll see if the Bruins come out and play and move the puck. Next game is the Hurricanes and Maple Leafs. Hurricanes, they're 1 spot behind the Blue Jackets. They want the Bruins to win. Obviously, and they definitely are playing a tough team in the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're on the road in Toronto. So it's going to be a fun one to watch, but the Hurricanes definitely need the Bruins to win, so they hope that the Bruins put out all their guys and they, move the puck down the ice. So, speaking of the Lightning from earlier, the only team with 60 wins, they take on the Canadiens, who definitely need the Blue Jackets and the Hurricanes to lose. They are in 9th place in the Eastern Conference, but they're still in there. They're not eliminated quite yet, but the Lightning, well, they don't really need to win any more games. They have the first seed locked up completely. So could they rest a few guys? I could see them do that. Maybe get the Canadiens a little bit of help to get into the playoffs this time of year. A little, not Christmas present, but you know what I mean. A little birthday present, maybe. Give them a little gift. Jets and Wilds. Speaking of the Jets got a huge game Monday night against the Blackhawks. Obviously, a huge fight. Some teeth were lost, and man, I feel bad for that Blackhawks player. But Jets came out, won in overtime, a close goal, and a good game. And they play on a doubleheader against the Wild, who definitely need a win. They're in 10th place. They're not eliminated yet, but they're close. So Wild definitely need to win some games. They need to win out, and they need a little bit of favors. But it all starts right now against the Jets. And that will do it for the 4th and 11 show. So I'll see y'all tomorrow on Wednesday, April 3rd. Signing off.